When a message appears in front of you that says something like "stop," congratulations if you see this before 23 September, it can feel strange, like you're being singled out. In reality, what is happening is that your awareness is heightened enough to notice it. Life is always sending you small signals, but most of the time you are too distracted to catch them. Seeing something at a specific moment is less about the message itself and more about your own readiness. You are starting to pay attention. You are beginning to sense that something is shifting, that a window is opening, and that you are being invited to prepare yourself mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. That is why it feels significant. It is significant because you are becoming more conscious. This idea that signs come before shifts is old. Every tradition talks about omens, patterns, whispers, intuition. The universe does not suddenly change on a date. You change first, and then you begin to see the world differently. That message you saw might be the spark that wakes you up. It is a cue for self-reflection. Ask yourself what has been stirring inside you recently. What have you been ignoring or postponing? What inner voice have you been silencing? The sign is like a knock on the door of your awareness saying, "It's time to look." When you answer that knock, you start to align your thoughts and actions with what is emerging. Preparation is the next step. Once you've noticed the signal, use it as a prompt to prepare for the coming days. You are standing at a threshold. You can drift past it and nothing changes, or you can step through it intentionally and begin a new chapter. Preparation does not have to be dramatic. It can be as simple as cleaning up your environment, clarifying your priorities, making a commitment to a daily practice, or letting go of a habit that no longer serves you. The key is to take the sign seriously enough to do something concrete with it. This is how you transform a random moment into a turning point. Psychologically, this matters because your brain has a built-in filter called the reticular activating system. Once something becomes important to you, your brain starts to notice related information and opportunities everywhere. If you decide that this period before 23 September is a time of preparation and openness, your brain will begin scanning for ways to make that true. You will overhear a conversation, find a book, or meet a person who helps you take the next step. None of this is magic. It is simply the power of focus and attention at work. You attract what you prepare for because you are finally able to see it. Another reason to respond to the sign is that awareness itself creates momentum. When you acknowledge a shift, you begin to act differently. You become more deliberate. You start finishing things you've been delaying. You speak with more clarity. You show up more fully. Each small action is like a vote for the future you want to experience. Over days and weeks, these votes accumulate into identity. You no longer see yourself as someone drifting. You see yourself as someone awake, someone moving forward. That change in self-image is far more important than the external date on the calendar. The date is simply a container. Humans are motivated by deadlines and symbolic milestones. They give us urgency and focus. When you see a message tied to a specific date, treat it as an invitation to draw a line in the sand. Use the time between now and then to set intentions and build habits. Decide what you will leave behind and what you will carry into the next phase. Even if nothing dramatic happens on the day itself, you will have transformed in the process of preparing. The point is not the date. The point is who you become while getting ready for it. This approach also teaches you to live more intentionally all the time. Once you feel the power of noticing a sign and acting on it, you stop waiting for random signals. You start creating your own. You write notes to your future self. You set personal start dates. You declare small rituals as beginnings. In doing so, you take back authorship of your story. You become the one who decides when to shift, rather than waiting to be nudged by chance. At the heart of this is trust, trusting that the small prompt you noticed is enough to start moving, trusting that you don't need to know the whole path before you begin, trusting that preparation is never wasted. When you treat these signs as meaningful, you cultivate a habit of readiness. You live with your eyes open. You don't have to be superstitious or mystical to do this. You just have to value your own intuition enough to respond when it stirs. In the days leading up to a milestone like 23 September, create space to listen. Put down your phone for a few minutes each morning. Journal about what you're noticing. Ask yourself what patterns have been repeating. Consider what small step would honor the feeling that change is coming. These quiet practices turn a passing message into a catalyst. Without reflection, the moment passes and nothing shifts. With reflection and small action, the moment becomes a hinge on which your future turns. Ultimately, a sign like stop. Congratulations if you see this before 23 September. Can be more than curiosity. It can be your personal starting bell. If you treat it as such, you enter the date not with fear or expectation, but with preparation and clarity. Even if the outside world looks the same, you will be different inside. And that is where every real transformation begins. By noticing, preparing, and acting, you turn a coincidence into a conscious choice. You stop drifting and start steering. That is the real meaning of a sign before a shift, not prediction, but permission to begin. Small, deliberate actions taken in the days before a milestone hold far more power than most people realize. When you hear the phrase preparation creates opportunity, it might sound like a cliché, but it is a practical law of life. Big events and turning points rarely reward the person who arrives unprepared. They reward the one who has been quietly aligning themselves beforehand. The period leading up to a significant date, whether that's 23 September or any other marker you choose, is not just empty waiting time. It is fertile ground for planting the seeds that will grow into future results. When you use that time wisely, the opportunities that appear later feel almost inevitable because you've already shaped yourself into someone ready to receive them. Preparation is less about predicting the future and more about shaping your present. You cannot always control what will happen on a specific date, but you can control the habits, mindset, and environment you bring to it. If you spend the days before hand distracted, scattered, or clinging to old patterns, even a great opportunity might pass you by because you're not ready to recognize or act on it. If you spend the same days clarifying your goals, cleaning up unfinished tasks, and practicing self-discipline, you create a state of readiness. This readiness makes you quicker to respond, clearer in your decisions, and more magnetic to the people and chances that align with your intentions. Think of preparation like training before a race. The runner does not know exactly what the weather will be on race day or how the track will feel underfoot. They train anyway because the training is what builds their capacity to handle whatever conditions show up. In your own life, the days leading up to a milestone are your training period. You practice mental stillness, healthier routines, sharper focus. You rehearse your future self before the future arrives. Then, when the day comes, you don't have to scramble. You simply step into a version of yourself you've already been becoming. Preparation also has a cleansing quality. It's not only about adding new habits, it's about releasing old ones. Before a shift, there is usually something that needs to be let go. A limiting belief, a toxic routine, clutter in your space, a draining commitment. Clearing these things is like removing rocks from a garden before planting. It creates room for new growth. Ask yourself what you're carrying that you no longer want to bring into the next phase. Use the time before the milestone to lighten your load. This act alone can create a sense of relief and freedom that draws fresh possibilities into your life. Another power of preparation is psychological momentum. When you take small, consistent actions ahead of time, you begin to feel competent and confident. You tell yourself, "I'm ready, I'm moving." That self-perception becomes self-fulfilling. Confidence does not magically appear on the day of opportunity. It is built in the days and weeks beforehand through preparation. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, waking up earlier, practicing gratitude, setting priorities, you strengthen your trust in your own word. That trust becomes the backbone of your decision making when the moment arrives. People sometimes imagine that opportunity knocks randomly. In truth, it often arrives quietly, disguised as a challenge, a conversation, or a task others ignore. Preparation tunes your senses so you can recognize opportunity in whatever form it takes. It also gives you the skills and energy to act on it immediately. Without preparation, you hesitate or doubt. With preparation, you move. The difference between those two responses can shape your entire trajectory. A single decisive action taken at the right time can compress years of progress into days, but only if you've built the readiness to take it. The beauty of this principle is that it doesn't require huge changes. You don't have to overhaul your entire life in the days before a milestone. You only need to choose a few meaningful practices and do them consistently. For some people, that might be writing down goals each morning. For others, it could be physical exercise, decluttering a workspace, or setting boundaries around digital distractions. What matters is that your actions signal to yourself that you're preparing, that you're making space for what's next. These signals add up. They shape your state of mind, which shapes your behavior, which shapes your results. Preparation also makes you more resilient. Even if the external event doesn't unfold as you imagined, the inner growth you've done is never wasted. You'll have more clarity, stronger habits, and a calmer nervous system to meet whatever comes. In this way, preparation transforms disappointment into learning and setbacks into stepping stones. You stop living as a passive receiver of events and start living as an active participant in your own evolution. The time before a significant date can also be used for visualization and intention setting. Spend a few minutes each morning imagining how you want to feel and act when the moment arrives. See yourself speaking with confidence, making decisive moves, or embracing change calmly. This mental rehearsal primes your subconscious, making those behaviors easier when the real situation presents itself. Athletes, performers, and leaders all use this technique because it works. It is a simple but powerful form of preparation that costs nothing but attention. Ultimately, preparation is an act of self-respect. It's you telling yourself, "My future matters enough to invest in today." When you prepare, you're no longer waiting for luck or outside validation. You're building a foundation that can hold the weight of your dreams. Even if the external event on 23 September comes and goes without fireworks, you'll have used the lead up to upgrade yourself. That inner shift will outlast any date on the calendar, so treat every sign, every nudge, every countdown as an invitation to prepare. Not to panic, but to align. Clean your environment, clarify your priorities, strengthen your habits, lighten your baggage. These small, steady acts are how you convert a vague sense of anticipation into a concrete readiness for opportunity. They're how you turn a random date into a personal milestone, and they're how you move from hoping for change to becoming the kind of person who meets change with open eyes and steady hands. Faith and expectation are quiet but powerful forces. They shape the way you experience the world long before you see any evidence. When you see a message warning or congratulating you before a certain date, it is easy to slip into superstition or fear. Yet the deeper meaning of such a message is not about magic or luck. It is about the state of your belief and expectation. Your mindset acts like a lens. If you expect disappointment, you see reasons to be disappointed. If you expect growth and opportunity, you begin to see pathways that were invisible before. This is why faith and positive expectation matter so much in the days before a milestone. They prime your mind to notice and receive what aligns with your focus. Expectation is not just wishful thinking, it is a practical psychological mechanism. When you hold an image of the future you want, your nervous system and your attention begin to adjust accordingly. You start to speak differently, plan differently, and move differently. You notice small clues and connections. You have more patience to work through challenges because you already believe that something worthwhile lies on the other side. This inner stance changes the way other people respond to you as well. People are naturally drawn to those who carry quiet confidence. They sense the steadiness. They feel that you are not waiting to be rescued. You are moving towards something. Faith works in a similar way. It is the inner agreement you make with yourself that, even without proof, you will continue acting as if good things are possible. It does not mean you ignore reality. It means you trust that your efforts, habits, and inner work are leading somewhere meaningful even if the evidence has not yet arrived. Faith allows you to persist long enough for seeds to grow. Without it, you dig up the soil every day looking for sprouts, and you sabotage your own progress. With it, you water, tend, and wait patiently, knowing the process will unfold. This is especially important before a date you have marked as significant. If you approach the days beforehand with worry, skepticism, or negativity, you drain your own energy. You become less creative, less open, more reactive. Even if an opportunity arises, you might miss it because your attention is on what could go wrong. If you approach the same days with faith and positive expectation, you lift your energy, you show up as someone ready to receive. You become more curious, more generous, more alert. The opportunity might be the same in both scenarios, but your ability to recognize and seize it is very different. To cultivate this mindset, begin each day with a few minutes of quiet reflection. Ask yourself what kind of person you want to be when the milestone arrives. Visualize yourself moving through that day with calmness, clarity, and confidence. See yourself handling surprises with grace, speaking with conviction, or making bold choices. This is not fantasy, it is mental rehearsal. Athletes and performers use it because the brain cannot fully distinguish between vividly imagined practice and real practice. By rehearsing the state you want to embody, you make it easier to access when you need it. Another way to strengthen faith and expectation is through gratitude. Take stock of what is already working in your life, even if it is small. Gratitude is a signal to your nervous system that you are safe and resourced. From that state, you think more clearly and take wiser action. It also trains your brain to focus on what is present and positive rather than what is absent and negative. This shift in focus makes you more likely to see the next good thing when it appears. It is also valuable to watch your language during this period. The words you speak about the future influence your attitude toward it. Complaining, doubting, or rehearsing worst-case scenarios builds a mental groove of fear. Speaking with hope, curiosity, and possibility builds a mental groove of readiness. You do not have to be unrealistically positive. Simply choose words that keep the door open. Instead of "nothing ever works out for me," try "I'm learning and I'm getting closer." Instead of "this is going to be terrible," try "this might be challenging, but I'm capable of handling it." Each shift in language is a shift in expectation. Faith and expectation also mean accepting that you do not control everything. You cannot force specific outcomes by a certain date. What you can control is the person you become in preparation. When you hold positive expectation, you are not demanding a particular event on 23 September. You are deciding to be open and ready for whatever unfolds. That openness is what allows you to benefit from even unexpected developments. Many people miss their blessings because they arrive in disguise. Faith helps you keep your heart and mind open long enough to recognize them. Another practical step is to act as if the thing you're expecting is already on its way. If you're expecting a breakthrough in your career, start organizing your schedule as if you'll soon be busier. If you're expecting a new relationship, begin treating yourself with the respect and care you would offer in a healthy partnership. Acting as if is not pretending, it is signaling to yourself and to life that you are serious. It is aligning your external world with your internal expectation so that when the opportunity does come, you are not scrambling to adjust. It is normal to feel doubt or impatience during this process. When that happens, remind yourself that your job is not to control the timing, but to maintain the mindset. Return to your daily practices: reflection, visualization, gratitude, intentional language. These small rituals keep you anchored. Over time, they train your nervous system to expect good things and to stay steady even when the outer world is uncertain. The power of faith and expectation is cumulative. A single positive thought may not change much, but sustained positive expectation over days and weeks reshapes your behavior, your opportunities, and your sense of self. By the time the milestone arrives, you are not just hoping for something different, you have already become different. And because of that inner shift, your experience of the day, whatever happens, will be richer, calmer, and more empowering. So when you see a message telling you to stop and pay attention before a date like 23 September, take it as a cue to check your faith and expectation. Ask yourself what you've been rehearsing in your mind. Ask whether your daily actions match the future you hope to experience. Use the time not to predict an outcome, but to prepare a mindset. When you do, you turn a random date on the calendar into a personal training ground for belief, resilience, and readiness. This is how you move from fear to anticipation, from passively waiting to actively welcoming, from superstition to conscious creation. Letting go and making space for the new is one of the most underestimated disciplines in personal growth. Most people think about adding new habits, new goals, new projects, but rarely think about releasing. Yet release is what creates the room for transformation to happen. In the days before an important milestone or shift, like a date you have marked on the calendar, this principle becomes even more powerful. You are standing at the edge of a new chapter. If you carry all your old baggage with you, the chapter cannot fully begin. The energy of the past clutters the present and crowds out what is trying to arrive. By intentionally letting go, you clear the soil so fresh seeds can take root. Letting go is not weakness, it is a courageous act of trust. It means you acknowledge that some patterns, beliefs, possessions, or relationships have served their purpose and no longer belong in the version of you that is emerging. This does not make them bad, it simply means they are complete. We see this in nature constantly. Trees shed leaves to survive the winter. Snakes shed their skin to keep growing. Water sheds from clouds to renew the earth. In each case, the shedding is not loss. It is preparation for renewal. The same is true for you. Before a milestone, look at your life with honesty. What habits drain your energy? What thoughts keep you small? What clutter fills your space? What commitments feel heavy rather than meaningful? These are the things asking to be released. This process begins inside. Start with beliefs. Every time you grow, an old belief dies. Maybe you believed you weren't capable, or that life has to be hard, or that you must please everyone to be safe. Those beliefs may have protected you once, but now they are chains. In the days leading up to a new chapter, practice questioning them. Ask yourself if they are actually true or simply familiar. Write them down and consider what a freer belief would be. This mental decluttering creates emotional and creative space. New ideas flow more easily when old stories no longer dominate your inner dialogue. Physical decluttering reinforces this inner work. Cleaning your environment sends a powerful message to your subconscious. It says, I am making space for something new. This can be as simple as organizing your workspace, donating items you no longer use, or rearranging a room to feel more open. Each act of clearing is a ritual. It shifts your state of mind from stagnation to movement. You begin to feel lighter, freer, and more in control. This is not just about tidiness, it is about symbolism. You are demonstrating to yourself that you can release what no longer serves you and still be whole. Relationships and routines also deserve attention. Not every connection is meant to last forever. Some people enter your life to teach or mirror something, and then the relationship naturally changes. This does not require drama or resentment. It can simply be an acknowledgement that your paths are diverging. Before a milestone, consider who and what you want to bring with you into the next phase. This is not about cutting people off impulsively, but about being intentional. Maybe it means setting clearer boundaries, reducing time spent in draining conversations, or investing more deeply in supportive ones. Your time and energy are finite. How you allocate them determines the quality of your life. Letting go also involves forgiveness of others and of yourself. You cannot step fully into a new chapter while holding onto old grudges or regrets. They anchor you in the past. Forgiveness does not excuse harmful behavior. It releases you from the grip of resentment. It is a way of saying, this no longer defines me. In the days leading up to a milestone, practice small acts of forgiveness. Write a letter you never send. Speak a quiet blessing over a memory. Breathe out tension when an old thought arises. Each time you do, you reclaim a piece of your energy. Another aspect of letting go is surrendering the need for complete control over how the new chapter unfolds. You can prepare, set intentions, and act, but you cannot script every outcome. This is where trust enters. By releasing your grip on the exact way things must happen, you open yourself to possibilities you could not have imagined. Many breakthroughs arrive from directions you didn't plan. If you cling tightly to your plan, you might miss them. Surrender is not passivity. It is relaxed alertness. You remain proactive but open, steering your boat but not fighting the current. This practice of release creates a vacuum, and life fills vacuums. When you let go of an old belief, a new insight emerges. When you clear physical space, fresh energy moves in. When you release resentment, peace returns. When you loosen your grip on control, serendipity has room to operate. This is why letting go before a milestone is so potent. It is not only symbolic, it is functional. It creates the conditions for change. It tells life you are not only wishing for something different, but are also willing to make space for it. It is normal to feel discomfort as you let go. The familiar, even when painful, can feel safer than the unknown. Remind yourself that discomfort is a sign of growth. You are not losing yourself. You are shedding what is not truly you. Each release is a step closer to authenticity. You are making room for the version of yourself that has been waiting to emerge. Practical steps help ground this process. Set aside a few minutes each day to ask, what can I release today? It could be a small item, an old thought, an unhelpful habit. Write down your intentions to release. Visualize yourself lighter, freer, walking into the milestone date unburdened. Speak affirmations of openness. I make space for what serves me now. These small rituals anchor the abstract idea of letting go into concrete action. They give your nervous system a sense of progress and control. By the time the date arrives, you will not only have prepared externally, but also cleared internally. You will step into the new chapter with more space, more clarity, and more energy to respond to what arises. Even if nothing dramatic happens outwardly on that day, you will have shifted inwardly, and that is where real change always begins. You will have practiced the art of release, which you can carry forward into every season of your life. Each time you let go, you prove to yourself that you can survive change and even thrive because of it. Letting go is ultimately an act of faith in life and in yourself. It says, I trust that what is meant for me will fill this space. I trust that I am strong enough to release what no longer fits. I trust that the unknown holds possibilities beyond what I can see. Approached this way, the days before a milestone are not filled with anxiety about what might happen, but with a calm anticipation of what could emerge. You move from clinging to curiosity, from heaviness to lightness, from holding on to welcoming in. This shift is powerful. It is the quiet foundation of every true transformation.